Strategic Communications Council. Thank you for coming. I'd just like to introduce the panel. We have Raisz, the Minister of State of Hungary and the Chief of the EU Environment Council. On her left, we have Dr. Sivendra, the Permanent Secretary for Environment and Climate Change from Fiji. On his left, we have Juan Monterrey, Head of Delegation for Panama. And on his left, we have His Excellency Andrew Yatilman, Secretary of the Department of Environment, Climate Change and Emergency Management from the Federated States of Micronesia. I'm going to start with one question, and then we'll hand over to you guys for your own questions. And this is to everyone on the panel. We know that yesterday more than 100 countries tabled a proposal for regulating production in the plastics treaty. You were among the leads for this proposal. Why is the provision important to you?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. We think that we have to fulfill the mandate that was given to this conference. So we consider from the side of the European Union that we have to tackle the full life cycle of plastics if we want real results. Therefore, we think that the supply, production, upstream, whatever you want to call it, line of this question has to be addressed in the agreement as well. We know all what the difficulties and challenges plastics causes. They are part of our lives. It's going to remain like that. But there's a simple reason why the European Union insists on having meaningful provisions in this regard in the treaty. The reasons are simple. If you look at how we progressed in the past few decades, it's visible that humanity has already tried to tackle this challenge. We developed a lot of technologies in the meantime, but we haven't been yet there to reach 100% recycling rate for plastics. Meaning, if we don't handle the question of production and the reduction of production, we're never going to be able to really handle the problem of plastics. Once again, it's not demonizing plastics. Plastics is part of our lives. We just have to be sure that we quit the unnecessary use of plastics in our lives, and therefore we would like to see in the agreement strong and ambitious provisions on the production or supply or upstream side of plastics. As you well know, the European Union is very ambitious in this regard. Within the European Union, there exist a lot of rules concerning waste management and product design and the whole life cycle of products, and we are progressing all the time in this regard. And we know that it is essential also for the economy to have a clear vision of what is ahead of us. So what are the tasks that we have to handle in this regard? It's very important also for the business community to have a view, to look ahead and to have certainty what is going to be in the future, the framework within which they have to work. Therefore, we strongly support a text in the agreement which does not only concern waste management, which is also very important, but which focuses also on the upstream, because it is part of the whole question which we are dealing with. Thank you.
Dr. Sivendra.
Thank you, and good evening, colleagues. I will start by just saying that Fiji is proud to join the following other countries and the 100+ countries towards calling for the inclusion of the production provisions, and it's good that the treaty is actually looking at that. And maybe just to echo that, for us, Pacific Seeds in particular has been a very mighty voice in this process. And we know for sure that plastic production accounts for 5% of global emissions. That is equivalent to combined international aviation and maritime emissions combined. So, and 12% demand from fossil fuels is actually linked to production. So if we are looking at these statistics and if we are really serious about attacking plastic pollution, then we must start from the source. We also know that the numbers are growing exponentially, and our waste management systems back home are unable to keep up. And so for us, having this inclusion is really important, it's necessary, it's mandatory, and we don't think that if you're looking at the full life cycle of plastic, you cannot only look at the downstream measures, you need to look at from the upstream measures right throughout. We also echo what Honorable Minister has said in terms of Resolution 514. It commits us to addressing the full life cycle of plastic, and this proposal does exactly that. It starts with the production, which is the first and most critical stage in the life cycle. And if we are going to address the unsustainable production, we'll be tackling the root cause of the problem, while the downstream measures like recycling and waste management, then only can it be more effective. Thank you.
Juan, Monterrey.
Thank you so much. We support this provision on reduction of production because our mandate, the reason that we're here for, is to negotiate a treaty to curb the most visible form of pollution our citizens know and experience day to day, which is the plastic pollution. We are not here to negotiate a greenwashing recycling global treaty. We're here to negotiate a global plastics treaty. I'm talking about recycling, which it is important, but let's remind the room that only 10% of all the plastic ever produced has been recycled. Let's also remind the room that every year we are investing about $40 billion in the poisoning of our bodies, $40 billion in the poisoning of our ecosystems, $40 billion that do not only make markets in the developing world fail, but it also stifles innovation to create alternative for this very detrimental element. As the minister from the European Union mentioned, yes, plastic is going to continue to be a part of our life because there are some forms of plastic in the medical industry, in the aviation industry, automotive industry, for which we still don't have alternative. But if we don't have a goal to reduce production, if we don't have a goal to curb these subsidies that stifle innovation, we will never really move forward. Every second, an equivalent of a truckload of plastic gets dumped into our ocean. So for us, this proposal, this text on the reduction of production, it's highly important because it sets a mood of unity. It sets a precedent that we can get to consensus. I mean, look at the text that we submitted. It was a merge of different submissions from the Pacific states, different submissions from progressive countries in Latin America. It had the support of over 40 African nations. It had the support of the European Union. This is unprecedented in this process. And we cannot allow loud voices to manage the conversation and to control the rooms. Those who want to move forward are the most, and we seek on all of you, the journalists, the civil society, the youth leader, not only here in Busan, but all over the world, to put pressure also in your governments and your leaders, because we must leave Busan with a treaty, a real treaty to curb plastic pollution, not a greenwashing recycling treaty.
Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you everyone in the room. Micronesia has pushed this addressing of production from the beginning, and we're not giving up until today. We're glad that we're talking, the number of countries have increased in terms of those who are supporting this production of plastics to be addressed, because if I can just put it simply, we always address problems at source. We don't go and address symptoms and other things. Doctors and other people, they address the source of the illness. And so this is an illness that, for us as small islands in the Pacific, our shores, our mangroves, are filled with chunks, with the mess that is created in bigger countries. Plastics are brought onto our shores by the currents, since we're in the Pacific. So, we need to address that, as some of the colleagues here around the table have said. 10% of it has been, taken care of, but the rest is out there. And so we need to do that because, very soon, our islands, we proudly say that we Blue Pacific continent is our home. And so if that is going to be, littered with plastics, that is going to have an impact on our fisheries, which we rely on the most. That is our economy. Our 80% of our economy is from fisheries. And that, if plastics is around, litters the whole Pacific Ocean, we're going to be, eating plastic instead of eating fish. And that economy is, we're going to lose that economy. Secondly, as developing island states, we do not have the capacity yet to be able to manage and recycle all of the waste that comes to our islands. And so most of it just end up at the landfill, being buried, which is not good for the environment. And then a lot of it also is, out in the water. And so, trying to address it through recycling or waste management is not going to do it. We have to address the source, the production. We need to put a cap. We need to stop it, and then start addressing the removal of plastic waste through recycling and waste management. Because even with recycling and waste management, we're still not going to be able to catch up with the amount of plastic that's going to be produced, as producers, probably want to accelerate the production of plastics. And so that we will never, win this sort of fight of trying to stop plastic pollution. So that is why we also want this production to be addressed. It's about health, I said earlier that, microplastics, we're eating plastics in the fish, whatever marine resources that, we depend on for our livelihood. That's what we're eating, everybody in the world. You get our fish, we export our fish, and tuna is made from, the fish that are caught in our oceans. All of us are eating plastics. Do we want them? Certainly not, but that's what's happening. And so, I really thank the other countries that are now supporting this, push to address plastic production, because we need it. That's what we need to do. And, our economists, I said, the Gulf states want to protect their economy with fossil fuels. What about us? Do we even mean anything? Our economy is based on fisheries. And if that economy is going to be destroyed because there's going to be plastic found in there which is not safe for human consumption, that's it. There goes our economy. In the interest of protecting those who have been, becoming rich and rich over time by selling fossil fuels. So, come on, give us a chance, give us a break. Also help our small economies. We need to grow also. So, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I believe we've got company. I'd like to welcome Olga Givernet to the stage. She's the Minister Delegate for Energy from France. And Olga, I did ask the other panelists a question before you joined us. We know that yesterday more than 100 countries tabled a proposal for regulating production in the Plastics Treaty. You were among the leads for this proposal. Why is the provision important to you? And unfortunately, our guest from Hungary has to leave, so apologies. But if you could answer that question, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just arriving from the airport, but our team is here to work on this treaty, and we are very, very ambitious on this treaty on the plastic, and we want to work very hard to have it for 2024. We want to support the chair here for all the work that has been done so far, and we are really proud that all the country from north to south, from south to north, are also supporting all this ambition for the treaty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a hard stop at 6, so we have 13 minutes. If you have questions, please put up your hand and I'll try to get through as many as possible. One question only. Matteo. Please, yeah, stand up for the mic.
Hi, Matteo, Givernet, Home News. What is the way forward now? Because the countries that have been sort of blocking the production cuts option have been very strong in their opposition. Is there any way, any plans that you have to convince them or a compromise that you can offer, or what other options are on the table? Are you planning to go for that sort of voting option instead of consensus?
So we seek the leadership of those delegations that up to this point have opposed any mention of production reduction. All of the countries that are sitting here at this table and most of the countries that supported the submission from last night came here with the idea of including a numeric target. But we are at a point where we need to forget about our red lines. We are at a point where we need to start negotiating, and that's what we're doing. We have put forth a proposal that not only crosses but stamped our own red lines. And we did it because we want compromise. We did it because the planet demands this. And we have extended a branch. We're building a bridge, but not only building it, we're crossing that bridge. So we're seeking all the other delegations that have not moved a centimeter to also cross that bridge and meet us halfway. We believe that the proposal put forward is that halfway, and the way forward is to negotiate and get to a concrete outcome here out of Busan.
Jacob.
Hi. So the current version of the fourth non-paper that has just come out has two options regarding health. It actually says either no text, or it gives a very, very limited movement forward on controlling health. So I wanted to understand how would you as a group or respond to this, that if there is nothing at all decided on health, how much of a dampener or how much of a defeat would you see this position if there is a no text option? Anybody?
Thank you. I think as Honorable Minister for FSM and many other colleagues have already pointed out on the realities that small island developing states and many other countries are faced with in the interlinkages of plastic pollution and health, whether it be human health, animal health, or however you associate it. There's a lot of implications. Sciences have shown already. Just today there's a World Health Organization report that came out, because there was questioning the direct evidence of linkages to health, and so that's even been produced today. So that I only wish it was produced earlier, but these are ample evidence. We have scientists in the room. We have colleagues that have shown for us in Fiji fish to plate, plastics to plate, where they have found for every second catch of fish there is elements of microplastics. Where does this end up? This ends up in our bodies, right? In the air we breathe and so forth. So I think we will be continuously pushing for the text option, and then like my colleague from Panama has said, it's a process of negotiation. We will negotiate alongside many other parties to try and have some text on that and the linkages. But in regards to that as well, I think one important point that links health as well is the legacy plastic issue. And right now we have been pushing for Pacific Seeds, and many other countries have collectively pushed for the remediation fund to be included in the treaty text. There's only one paragraph that's on it. We would need an expansion of that, because legacy waste is a very big issue back in many Pacific Island countries, in many seats, and the treaty needs to be more ambitious on this element. So we know that the transboundary movement of waste, as Minister has said, is literally choking the blue Pacific lung of this earth. Yeah, and 60% of the tuna that's produced and used by all of these people around the world that are not, not seeing the real crisis that we are faced with, they're consuming them. And so I'm not sure how they can just turn a blind eye towards the very problem that we are faced with. I think many women's group, Many youths have also spoken about this issue, about elements of microplastic found in the healthy women's placenta and so forth. These are all real issues, like we need to be not turning a blind eye towards. So we cannot walk out from here without no tax on this health element, and we hope that countries will come forward with a understanding on this regard, understand the realities, the contextual realities, and negotiate on tax like we should do in a multilateral process.
If I may, Chair. If I may just add also, what my colleagues here from Panama and Fiji have said, especially with calling on those countries that don't agree to take leadership and to cross the bridge a little bit, because we've been moving across, but we need also this negotiation, as was mentioned, and so we need to have compromise. But the other thing is, most people here just came from Baku. We're trying to address climate change, and we know that in the life cycle of plastics, 90%, more than 90% of GHG emissions is from plastic production, and so this can also help the effort that we're trying to do in the climate change process. So we're trying to connect things here, and so I hope that the countries that are resisting this could at least couldn't make that connection. Of course, I know they know, but make that compromise, for us to be able to have this thing, at least addressed, agreed to. Thank you.
Just in the middle there.
Hi, Juan from French media context. Follow up on the first question. If the minority that is against any measure on supplies not crossing the bridge that you are crossing, are you ready to have a deal without a full consensus? Thank you.
We need production in the text. We need production in the text because if left unchecked, production will more than double by mid-century. We need reduction in the text because by mid-century, the total amount of plastic in the ocean is going to surpass the total weight of fish in the ocean. We need reduction in the text because we're committed to living on planet Earth and not in planet plastic. So if it comes to voting, if there is not a full consensus and we can go to a voting, one country, one vote, we're also looking forward to that option if it's on the table.
Sarah.
Sarah Hussain from AFP. One thing that also seems to be missing in this draft is any text on chemicals of concern. I wonder if you could speak about that. How worried are you that that isn't there at this point? And are you willing to go forward if that's no longer in the text?
Thank you for your question. We have made it clear, I'm sure you was in that plenary where we were talking about chemicals of concern. This is even having as the low ambitious country or low ambition countries have pushed back saying that chemicals of concern should not be here because there's other treaties that account for that. And we have justified, and I don't have to go into the sciences or don't have to go into the treaty language in other treaty like Basel Convention, Rotterdam and Stockholm, but it does not necessarily regulate all types of chemicals of concern. The chemicals of concern associated with plastic are very hazardous. It needs to be looking at all of these elements, and we have continuously pushed for regulation, at least minimum global standards that check the chemicals of concern, and we will not be able to accept a language that does not check this. We have been pushing from INC 1, we've been talking about these elements at INC 4. Fiji, along with many other SIDS, IOCS countries, pushed for even intersessional work on chemicals of concern because we knew it was going to get here. We preempted that it was going to head this way. And I think it's great to see that many developed countries are also of the same thinking, that it should be there. And they know that what does Basel regulate, what does Basel not regulate. Information exchange is not enough. We need to regulate chemicals of concern on plastic pollution production, and we need to also share that information with the consumers, because these are chemicals that actually are passed on to consumers. You see an empty bag with a brand of the producer, but nothing on the composition of what makes that plastic bag. So I think it's really important that we should start walking the talk and disclosing this information, but also regulating it. So if we are going to regulate chemicals of concern, then the issue of production is also linked, because it will also drive production levels down.
Let me just add one also. Maybe let me start with a question. Who among us is not concerned about his or her health? That's the question I want to pose. I mentioned that, for us, whose economy is dependent, 80% of our economy is from fisheries, from fish. And so science has said that there is now microplastics in fish, marine animals and so forth. And so it's ending up in our bodies. So are we not concerned about the health of the people? What is the motive here that's driving this, resistance to having, chemicals of concern also be addressed? That's a question I want to ask.
I'm just going to hand over to Anthony AGOTHA for the Special Envoy from the EU. He's going to make a brief statement.
No, thank you very much, and I also want to commend the colleagues of the Excellencies for all the points that they made. I think what is very important that we, in the coming 2 days, we have to work very, very hard. Nobody came here, or nobody should have come here to consolidate the comfort zone. We are all here to stretch and get out of our comfort zone. Because frankly speaking, the world is in a panic zone if we go on like this. The issue of health is paramount. The time for freedom to pollute should be over. And I think we can do it. The science impels us. I think if we have good signals to the economy will help and get better about this. And what is very important, you can talk about waste management, but as we heard from our Micronesian colleague, this is not the silver bullet. Yes, it is paramount, and we need to get technologies, and we need to have the transfers, and we need to make sure that we do it. But mopping the floor when the tap is open is useless. So we have to do the full life cycle, make sure that in production, in the design, in the amounts we do, we take it for granted. This is not about demonizing plastic. We love plastic. It helps our cars and planes to be lighter. But we got to get rid of the polluting plastic that is basically choking the oceans and ruining our health. Thank you.
Sadly, we're out of time. Sure.
I just want to add something. Let's also remember that almost 60% of all plastic is single-use and unnecessary plastic. Those are plastics that we can easily remove out of our matrix because they are already alternative. And we seek the leadership of our colleagues that up until this point are not committed to production reduction. We seek their leadership, we want their leadership, but if they are not willing to lead, please leave it to the rest of us and get out of the way.
Before ending. One, as asked by the previous colleague, there is going to be no treaty without a provision on chemical of concern. This is a non-negotiable for us. And secondly, we need to recognize the special circumstances for seasonal disease in this journey. I think I wanted to say and make it very clear that the world is watching. The world sees the divide in the room for what it is. The divide is not the interpretation of lines of text in a mandate. The divide is between those, all of us here, looking to protect the people and the planet, and those looking to protect the profits and the interests of the past and present industries. Thank you.